She told everyone the billionaire CEO's baby wasn't his until a DNA test proved otherwise. "I have nothing to say to you." Marley stared at the man who told the world she lied about his baby. For 5 years, her daughter existed without a father, until a DNA test arrived that would change 3 lives forever. What it revealed, no one saw coming. The manila envelope trembled in Marley Dean's hands, its contents threatening to shatter what little remained of her carefully reconstructed life. Inside lay the DNA test results that would either vindicate her or destroy what credibility she had left in Westbrook. 5 years of whispers, accusations, and sideways glances had worn her down to a shell of the confident woman she once was. "Are you going to open it?" Reagan Cole asked gently, reaching across the coffee shop table to touch her friend's wrist. Reagan had been the only person who stood by Marley through everything: the pregnancy announcement, the public denial, the vicious rumors. Marley shook her head, tucking the envelope into her bag. "Not yet. I need to be alone when I do." The coffee shop buzzed with mid-morning activity, but Marley felt the familiar sensation of being watched. Westbrook wasn't a large town, and everyone knew everyone's business, or thought they did. 5 years ago, when Marley had announced her pregnancy, shortly after her brief relationship with Finn Wilder had ended, the rumors had started immediately. Finn Wilder, tech genius, billionaire founder of Horizon Innovations, and Westbrook's most famous son, had publicly denied paternity, claiming their relationship had been too brief and that Marley was trying to trap him for his money. His words had spread through the town like wildfire, and overnight, Marley had become the gold digger, the liar, the woman desperate enough to pin her pregnancy on a wealthy man. "He's requesting to see Lily now," Marley said quietly, stirring her untouched coffee. "That's why I finally agreed to the test. His lawyers have been relentless." Reagan's eyes widened. "After 5 years of pretending she doesn't exist? What changed?" "I don't know," Marley admitted. "The letter from his attorney just said he's reconsidering his position and wants to explore the possibility that Lily might be his daughter." What the letter hadn't said, what Marley couldn't bring herself to tell even Reagan, was that Finn had offered a substantial financial settlement if she would agree to the test and sign a non-disclosure agreement. As if her silence could be bought. As if the truth was negotiable. You wonder what kind of man thinks a mother's integrity has a price tag, don't you? The bell above the coffee shop door jingled, and Marley instinctively tensed. Bryn Carter entered with her usual air of self-importance, designer handbag swinging from her arm. As the self-appointed gossip queen of Westbrook, Bryn had been the most vocal about Marley's scheme to trap Finn. Her gaze swept the room and locked onto Marley with predatory precision. "Time to go," Marley murmured, gathering her things. "I need to pick Lily up from my mother's." Reagan squeezed her hand. "Call me later." Marley nodded, though she wasn't sure she would. Some news needed to be processed alone. If you believe single mothers deserve respect, not judgment, hit that subscribe button. Only gossips like Bryn would scroll past, without supporting. Outside, autumn painted Westbrook in shades of amber and gold. The small town had once felt like a sanctuary to Marley, a place where she could build her interior design business and live a quiet, fulfilling life. Now it felt like a prison of judgment and speculation. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother, Lily asking for mac and cheese for lunch. "Should I make some, or are you picking her up soon?" A smile tugged at Marley's lips. Even on her darkest days, Lily was her light. At 5 years old, she was a whirlwind of curiosity and joy, with copper curls that caught the sunlight and a laugh that could melt the coldest heart. And despite what everyone in town believed, despite Finn's public denials, Lily had his eyes a distinctive shade of amber that sometimes looked almost gold in certain light. "On my way," Marley texted back. "Tell her we can make mac and cheese together." As she drove through familiar streets toward her childhood home, Marley's mind drifted back to the night everything had changed. She had met Finn at a charity gala in the city, where her design firm had donated services for the event space. He had been charming, attentive, and seemingly genuine. Nothing like the tech mogul persona portrayed in business magazines. For 6 weeks, they had existed in a bubble of new romance, with Finn commuting between Westbrook and his company headquarters in the city. Then came the investment opportunity that would catapult Horizon Innovations into the stratosphere. Finn had become distant, consumed by work, and their relationship had fizzled as quickly as it had ignited. Marley had accepted the breakup with grace, understanding that their worlds were simply too different to align. 2 weeks later, she had discovered she was pregnant. Finn's reaction to her news had been cold, calculating, and devastating. He had accused her of trying to trap him, just as his company was about to go public. When she had refused his offer to take care of the problem, he had cut all contact, issuing a public statement through his PR team that denied any possibility the child was his and painted Marley as an opportunist. In the 5 years since, Marley had rebuilt her life around Lily, focusing on her growing design business and the small circle of people who had stood by her. She had never asked Finn for money, never pursued him legally for child support. Her pride wouldn't allow it, not after the humiliation he had put her through. Until now. Until his lawyers had contacted her out of the blue, requesting the DNA test that now sat in her bag like a ticking bomb. What could have possibly changed after all this time? And more importantly, what would this mean for Lily? Marley pulled into her mother's driveway, taking a moment to compose herself before going inside. Through the front window, she could see Lily sitting on the kitchen counter, her little legs swinging as her grandmother helped her stir something in a bowl. The sight centered Marley, reminding her what truly mattered. "Mommy!" Lily squealed as Marley entered, holding out flour-covered hands. "We're making cookies!" "I see that," Marley laughed, kissing her daughter's forehead. What happened to mac and cheese? Cookies first, then mac and cheese, Lily declared with the absolute certainty only a child could muster. Sailor Knox wiped her hands on a dish towel, studying her daughter's face. "You got the results?" Marley nodded, her smile fading. "Haven't opened them yet." Her mother's expression softened. "Whatever they say, nothing changes. She's our Lily." "I know," Marley whispered, though the knot in her stomach tightened. Because something would change, regardless of the outcome. Either Finn would be proven right, and the town's perception of her as a liar would be cemented forever. Or he would be proven wrong, and a new battle would begin, one for Lily's future and what role, if any, Finn would play in it. The weight of this moment feels almost unbearable, doesn't it? The power of a single piece of paper to alter the course of multiple lives. Later that evening, after Lily had been tucked into bed with her favorite stuffed elephant and 3 bedtime stories, Marley sat at her kitchen table with the envelope before her. The house was quiet, save for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway, a restoration project she had taken on during her pregnancy, when design clients had mysteriously started canceling after Finn's public statement. With a deep breath, she broke the seal and pulled out the papers. Her eyes scanned the clinical language, searching for the conclusion. When she found it, the words seemed to blur and refocus. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. Finn Wilder was, without question, Lily's biological father. Marley's hands shook as she set down the papers. A strange mixture of vindication and dread washed over her. For 5 years, she had endured the whispers, the judgment, the loss of clients and friends, all because Finn had been too cowardly to accept the truth. Now, she had proof. But what would it mean for Lily? Her phone rang, startling her. The screen displayed a number she didn't recognize. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Marley." The voice she hadn't heard in 5 years sent a jolt through her system. "I received the results." Finn Wilder. Not his lawyers, not his assistants. Him. "So did I," she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. A pause stretched between them, filled with 5 years of unspoken words. You can almost feel the electricity crackling through that silence, can't you? 2 people connected by a child, separated by pride and fear and misunderstanding. "We need to talk," he finally said. "In person. I'm in town." Of course he was. Finn's family still owned the sprawling estate on the outskirts of Westbrook, though he rarely visited anymore. preferring the sleek penthouse in the city that better suited his tech mogul image. "I have nothing to say to you," Marley responded, anger rising to replace her initial shock. "You made your position quite clear 5 years ago. Things have changed," Finn insisted, his voice lacking the confident edge she remembered. "Please, Marley. Tomorrow morning, the boathouse at my family's property, 9 o'clock. The boathouse. Their meeting place during those 6 weeks, away from prying eyes and gossip. A place that had once held whispered promises and stolen kisses, now tainted by years of bitterness." "Fine," she agreed, surprising herself. "But I'll be bringing the NDA your lawyers sent, unsigned. If you think you can buy my silence or my daughter's affection, you're mistaken." She hung up before he could respond, her heart hammering against her ribs. Sleep would be impossible now, her mind racing with all the things she wanted to say to the man who had denied their daughter's existence for 5 years. What would you say to someone who had caused you so much pain, yet was inextricably linked to the person you loved most in the world? Morning came too quickly, and not quickly enough. Marley arranged for her mother to watch Lily, saying only that she had an important meeting. Sailor had given her a knowing look, but asked no questions. The drive to the Wilder estate brought back memories Marley had tried to bury. The winding private road through manicured grounds, the glimpse of the main house through ancient oaks, the secluded path to the boathouse by the lake. This place had seemed magical once, like something from another world, compared to her modest upbringing in Westbrook. She parked near the beginning of the footpath, not wanting to announce her arrival by driving all the way to the main house. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and water as she made her way toward the lake. The boathouse stood as she remembered, a charming structure of weathered wood and large windows overlooking the water. Smoke curled from its small chimney, indicating Finn was already inside. Marley paused at the door, gathering her resolve. She had rehearsed what she would say, the calm, measured way she would address him. But when she pushed open the door and saw him standing by the fireplace, all her carefully prepared words evaporated. Finn Wilder looked different. The confident, borderline arrogant tech entrepreneur she had known had been replaced by someone who appeared tired. His tailored suit couldn't hide the weight he'd lost, and shadows underlined his amber eyes. Lily's eyes. "Marley," he said, her name sounding like both a greeting and an apology. "Finn," she replied coolly, remaining by the door. "You wanted to talk. So, talk." He gestured to the sitting area, 2 comfortable chairs arranged before the fire. "Please, sit." "I prefer to stand." Finn nodded, accepting her refusal. "I owe you an explanation." "You owe me a lot more than that," Marley countered, "but let's start there." He ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered well. "When you told me you were pregnant, the timing couldn't have been worse. We were days away from announcing our IPO, and the board was nervous about anything that might spook investors. So you decided to publicly call me a liar instead of simply asking for discretion?" Marley interrupted, her voice sharp. "It was unforgivable," Finn admitted, surprising her. "My PR team suggested a strong denial would make the story disappear quickly. They said a paternity test could be handled quietly later, after the company went public. And you agreed to that strategy," Marley stated flatly. "You threw me to the wolves to protect your stock price." Finn didn't deny it. "Yes. And then I convinced myself it was true, that the timing was too convenient, that you must have been with someone else. It was easier to believe that than to face what I'd done." Marley laughed bitterly. "How convenient for you. Meanwhile, I lost clients, friends. People I'd known my entire life looked at me like I was trying to scam Westbrook's golden boy." "I know," Finn said quietly. "Nothing I say can undo that damage." "Then why are we here?" Marley demanded. "Why now? After 5 years?" Finn moved to a desk in the corner, picking up a framed photograph. He handed it to Marley without a word. The photo showed Finn with an elderly man in a hospital bed. The resemblance between them was striking, the same strong jawline, the same amber eyes. "My grandfather," Finn explained. "He passed away last month." I'm sorry for your loss, Marley said automatically, her anger momentarily tempered. Before he died, he made me promise to right my wrongs. Finn continued. He knew about you, about the child. He said his greatest regret was teaching my father, and by extension me, that business always comes first, family second. Marley handed the photo back, unmoved by this sudden attack of conscience. So, this is about easing your guilt? Fulfilling a deathbed promise? It started that way, Finn admitted. But then I saw her, last week, at the park in town. Marley's breath caught. You saw Lily? Finn nodded, something like wonder crossing his face. She was feeding ducks with an older woman, your mother, I assume. She has my eyes. I told you that 5 years ago, Marley said quietly. I know. Shame colored his voice. Seeing her, it changed something in me, Marley. I can't explain it rationally. I just knew I had to know for certain. Comment, truth always wins if you believe gossips like Bryn should be held accountable for the lives they damage. Marley crossed her arms, protecting herself from the vulnerability in his expression. And now you do. What exactly are you hoping for here, Finn? To sweep in and play daddy when it's convenient for you? To buy your way into her life with toys and trips and whatever else your billions can provide? No, he said firmly. I want to earn a place in her life. And I want to make amends to you, though I know that may be impossible. From his jacket pocket, he withdrew an envelope and held it out to her. This isn't a settlement offer or an attempt to buy your silence. It's something else entirely. Warily, Marley took the envelope and opened it. Inside was a legal document, but not the NDA she had expected. It was a trust fund establishment for Lily, with Marley named as the sole trustee until Lily turned 25. I've set aside funds for her education, her future, Finn explained. You have complete control over it until she's an adult. There are no conditions, no requirements for visitation or acknowledgement. It's hers, regardless of what you decide about my role in her life. Marley stared at the document, at the substantial figure listed as the initial deposit. It was more money than she could save in a lifetime. But was money enough to heal the wounds of abandonment? Could any amount of wealth compensate for 5 years of absence? Why would you do this with no guarantees? She asked, suspicion coloring her tone. Because it's the right thing to do, Finn replied simply. And because I've learned the hard way that some things are more important than business deals and public perception. Marley carefully refolded the document and placed it back in the envelope. And what exactly are you hoping for in return? A chance, Finn said, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. Not forgiveness, I haven't earned that yet. Just a chance to meet my daughter. To get to know her. On your terms. At your pace. Marley studied him, searching for the calculating businessman she had come to despise. Instead, she saw something she hadn't expected, genuine regret, and perhaps even fear that she would deny his request. The mighty Finn Wilder, who commanded boardrooms and moved markets with a single statement, now stood before her vulnerable and waiting for her judgment. How the tables had turned. Lily deserves to know her father, she finally said. But this happens on my timeline, not yours. And at the first sign that you're going to hurt her or disappear when things get complicated, you're out of her life for good. Relief washed over Finn's features. I understand. Thank you, Marley. Don't thank me yet, she warned. You have 5 years of damage to undo. And not just with Lily. The entire town believes I lied about her paternity because of you. Finn nodded grimly. I know. I've already scheduled a press conference for tomorrow. I intend to publicly acknowledge Lily as my daughter and apologize for my previous statements. Marley hadn't expected that. You don't need to do that. A quiet correction would be sufficient. No, Finn said firmly. The damage was done publicly. The correction should be equally public. For the first time since entering the boathouse, Marley allowed herself to sit, her legs suddenly unsteady. This will change everything. For Lily, for me, for all of us, Finn agreed, remaining standing. I know it won't be easy. I know I have no right to ask for any place in your lives. But I want to try, Marley. I want to be the father Lily deserves. Marley studied him, This new version of Finn Wilder, humbled, uncertain, seemingly sincere. Why should I believe you've changed? That this isn't just another calculated business decision? Finn moved to the window overlooking the lake, his reflection ghostly against the autumn landscape beyond. 6 months ago, I was in Tokyo, closing a major acquisition. My grandfather called, told me he was sick. Terminal. I said I'd visit when the deal was done. His voice tightened. By the time I got back, he couldn't recognize me anymore. All those years prioritizing Horizon over everything else. And for what? An empty penthouse? Board members who care about quarterly earnings? Not me? He turned to face her. The day I saw Lily in the park, she was laughing. This pure, uninhibited laugh that stopped me in my tracks. And I realized I'd never heard that sound in my life, the sound of my own child's happiness. A happiness that existed completely without me, that I had no part in creating. Despite herself, Marley felt a crack in the wall she'd built around her heart. She laughs like that all the time. She finds joy in everything. She gets that from you, Finn said softly. You don't know that, Marley countered. You don't know either of us anymore. You're right, he acknowledged. But I'd like the chance to learn. If you believe people deserve second chances to make things right, hit that like button. Only those as cold-hearted as Finn's PR team would deny someone the chance to grow. The grandfather clock in Marley's hallway showed nearly midnight when she finally finished reviewing the trust documents with her lawyer over the phone. Everything appeared legitimate. No hidden clauses, no contingencies that would give Finn control. The money was Lily's, regardless of what happened between the adults in her life. Reagan had called 3 times, leaving increasingly curious voicemails after seeing announcements about Finn Wilder's unexpected press conference scheduled for tomorrow. Marley hadn't returned the calls yet, unsure what to say. Her mother sat across the kitchen table, nursing a cup of tea. So he wants to be a father now, she said, her tone neutral but her eyes watchful. He says he does, Marley replied, massaging her temples. The question is whether I can trust him not to hurt Lily. Sailor Knox had never been Finn's biggest fan, even during the brief relationship. After his public denial, she had developed a quiet but intense dislike for the man who had humiliated her daughter. People can change, she said surprisingly, not often, and rarely without something forcing them to. But it happens. Marley looked up, startled by her mother's uncharacteristic openness to the possibility. You think I should give him a chance? Sailor sighed. I think Lily deserves to know her father, if he's genuinely committed to being in her life. But, she added, her expression hardening, he gets one chance, Marley. One. If he hurts that child, all the money and power in the world won't protect him from me. Marley smiled faintly, imagining her 5'2" mother confronting the tech billionaire. I told him essentially the same thing. Good, Sailor nodded approvingly. Now, what about this press conference? Are you going? Marley shook her head. No. This part is his mess to clean up. I don't need to stand beside him while he admits he lied. The next morning, Marley kept Lily home from kindergarten, anticipating the storm that would follow Finn's announcement. They baked cookies, Lily's current obsession, and played in the backyard, deliberately avoiding screens and phones. You can almost taste the sweetness of these precious moments, can't you? A mother and daughter creating memories, blissfully unaware of how their world is about to shift. By afternoon, Marley's phone had exploded with notifications. Friends, acquaintances, even former clients who had dropped her after the scandal, all reaching out with varying degrees of shock, apology, and curiosity. Bryn Carter, Westbrook's gossip queen, had called 7 times. Reagan arrived at 4, letting herself in with the spare key and finding Marley and Lily in the living room building a fort out of blankets and furniture. The whole town is buzzing, Reagan announced, kicking off her shoes to join them inside the fort. Hello, Miss Lily. That's an excellent pillow arrangement. Lily beamed, showing the gap where she'd recently lost her first tooth. It's a castle. Mommy's the queen, and I'm the princess. Very appropriate, Reagan agreed, settling cross-legged on a cushion. To Marley, she whispered. Have you seen it? Marley shook her head. I've been avoiding everything. Well, he didn't hold back, Reagan said, her eyes wide. He admitted everything, that he lied because of the IPO, that he convinced himself it couldn't be true because it was easier than facing his responsibility. He apologized to you by name, said the DNA test confirmed what you'd been saying all along, and announced he's taking a 6-month sabbatical from Horizon to focus on personal matters, which everyone assumes means getting to know his daughter. Marley's stomach tightened. She hadn't expected Finn to go quite so public with his mea culpa. How bad is the fallout? For him? Horizon stock took a hit, but it's already recovering. For the town? Let's just say Bryn Carter is in hiding after leading the Marley is a gold digger campaign for 5 years. Despite everything, Marley felt a small, vindictive satisfaction at that image. After years of being the subject of whispers and judgment, there was something undeniably sweet about vindication, wasn't there? Aunt Reagan? Want a cookie? Lily interrupted, holding out a slightly misshapen chocolate chip cookie. I made them. I would love one. Reagan accepted the offering solemnly. It looks delicious. As Lily turned back to her toys, Reagan leaned closer to Marley. So what happens now? Is he really going to be part of her life? We're taking it slow, Marley replied, watching her daughter arrange stuffed animals in the fort. He's coming here tomorrow to meet her officially. Just a short visit. And you're okay with this? Reagan asked, concern evident in her voice. Marley sighed. I don't know, but I do know that keeping them apart out of spite would be wrong. If he's sincere, if he really wants to be her father, she deserves that chance. The doorbell rang precisely at 10 the next morning. Marley had explained to Lily, in simple terms a 5-year-old could understand, that a friend of Mommy's was coming to visit. She had deliberately avoided using the word father or daddy, wanting to see how the initial meeting went before introducing such a significant concept. Finn stood on her porch, looking nothing like the polished tech CEO from magazine covers. He wore jeans and a simple sweater, and carried a modestly wrapped package. Most surprisingly, he looked nervous, an expression Marley had never associated with the confident businessman she'd known. Come in, she said, stepping aside. Lily's in the living room. Finn nodded, swallowing visibly as he entered the modest home. Marley led him to the living room, where Lily sat surrounded by crayons and paper, deeply focused on her artwork. Lily? Marley called gently. Our visitor is here. The little girl looked up, her amber eyes so like Finn's widening with curiosity. She scrambled to her feet, suddenly shy, and moved to stand partially behind her mother's legs. Hello, Lily, Finn said, his voice softer than Marley had ever heard it. My name is Finn. It's very nice to meet you. Lily studied him intently, then pointed to her own eyes. Your eyes look like mine. Finn's breath caught audibly. Yes, he managed after a moment. They do. That happens sometimes, Lily informed him seriously. My friend Emma has the same color hair as her mom, and Tommy has freckles like his dad. That's right, Finn said, crouching down to her level. Sometimes children look like their parents. Lily seemed to consider this, then pointed to the package under his arm. Is that for me? Finn glanced at Marley, who nodded slightly. Yes, it is, he said, offering the gift. I heard you like animals. Lily took the package and carefully unwrapped it, revealing a stuffed elephant with oversized ears. It's an elephant, she exclaimed, delight replacing her shyness. I love elephants. How did you know? Your mom told me, Finn said, smiling at her enthusiasm. I have other elephants, Lily announced. Want to see them? Without waiting for an answer, she grabbed Finn's hand and tugged him toward the stairs. They're in my room. The big one is named Ellie, and the small one is Baby Trunk. Marley followed as Lily led Finn to her bedroom, watching as her daughter introduced each stuffed animal in her collection with elaborate backstories. Finn listened with complete attention, asking questions and responding with appropriate amazement to each tale. It was surreal, watching them together, these two people with the same eyes, the same animated expressions when excited, the same focused intensity. Nature asserting itself despite 5 years of separation. There's something almost magical about witnessing genetic connections unfold, isn't there? The undeniable pull of shared DNA, stronger than time or distance. Through the bedroom window, Marley noticed Bryn Carter's silver Mercedes driving slowly past the house, the woman's head craning to get a better look at Finn's car in the driveway. Marley stepped back from the window, her jaw tightening. Even now, the woman couldn't resist gathering gossip. After an hour that passed more comfortably than Marley had anticipated, she announced it was time for Lily's playdate with a neighbor. Finn accepted this cue gracefully, promising Lily he would visit again soon if that was okay with her. "You can come see my elephants anytime," Lily declared magnanimously, giving him a quick, impulsive hug before running off to get her shoes. In the sudden quiet of her absence, Marley and Finn stood awkwardly in the hallway. "She's incredible," Finn said finally, his voice thick with emotion. "So smart. So alive." "Yes, she is," Marley agreed. "Thank you," he said, meeting her eyes directly, "for allowing this. I know you had every reason to refuse." Marley nodded, acknowledging the truth of his statement. "This is just the beginning, Finn. Being a parent isn't about grand gestures or press conferences. It's about showing up, day after day, even when it's inconvenient or difficult." "I understand," he said solemnly. "I have a lot to learn, but I want to. I want to be part of her life, whatever that looks like." As he prepared to leave, Finn hesitated at the door. "I meant what I said yesterday, Marley, about making amends to you not just for Lily's sake. The way I treated you was unforgivable." "You're right," Marley said quietly. "It was. But forgiveness isn't something you earn once, and it's done. It's a process, just like trust." "Then I'll work on both," Finn promised, "for as long as it takes. Share this video if you believe in standing up to bullies like Bryn, who profit from others' pain." Over the following weeks, Finn proved more committed than Marley had dared to hope. He visited regularly, never missing a scheduled time with Lily, gradually increasing from short visits to longer outings. He attended her kindergarten Christmas pageant, sitting awkwardly among the other parents, and brought her grandmother sailor a poinsettia that earned him the first grudging nod of approval from the protective woman. Westbrook's initial frenzy of gossip gradually subsided as the novelty of Finn Wilder's presence in town wore off. Marley found herself fielding fewer curious questions and receiving more genuine apologies from those who had believed the worst of her. Her design business flourished, with former clients returning and new ones seeking her out. Some, she suspected, were drawn by her connection to Finn, but she found she no longer cared about their motivations. She was doing work she loved, providing for her daughter, and rebuilding her reputation on her own terms. One afternoon, while shopping for groceries, Marley encountered Bryn Carter in the produce section. The woman had been noticeably subdued since Finn's press conference had exposed her gossip campaign as baseless. "Marley," Bryn said, her voice overly bright. "How lovely to see you. I've been meaning to call." "Have you?" Marley replied coolly, selecting an apple and placing it in her cart. "Yes, well," Bryn continued, undeterred. "I just wanted to say that I always had my doubts about Finn's denial. Something just didn't add up." Marley turned to face her directly. "That's interesting, Bryn, because I distinctly remember you telling everyone at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon that I was, and I quote, a desperate gold digger trying to trap Westbrook's golden boy." Bryn's face flushed. "Well, I was simply repeating what I'd heard. You know how rumors are." "Yes," Marley said evenly. "I know exactly how rumors are, especially when they're deliberately spread by people who enjoy watching others suffer." Without waiting for a response, Marley moved toward the checkout, leaving Bryn standing among the apples, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Have you ever witnessed someone who thrives on cruelty suddenly face accountability? It's a rare but satisfying sight, isn't it? By spring, Lily had begun referring to Finn as my Finn, a designation that seemed to fill him with both joy and a sense of responsibility. He had extended his sabbatical from Horizon, working remotely when necessary but prioritizing his time in Westbrook. One evening in April, after Lily had been tucked into bed with her growing collection of elephants, Finn brought a new one from each business trip, each representing a different country. Marley found him lingering on the porch, seemingly reluctant to leave. She asked me today if I was her daddy, Finn said without preamble when Marley joined him. Marley leaned against the porch railing. What did you tell her? The truth, he replied. That I am her father, but that I was away for a long time because I made mistakes. I told her I'm trying to be a good daddy now, if she'll let me. And what did she say? Marley asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. Lily, for all her young age, had an uncanny ability to accept people as they were. Finn smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his face. She said everyone makes mistakes, and that she would help me practice being a daddy, because she's very good at teaching people things. Marley laughed softly. That sounds like her. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching fireflies begin to appear in the gathering dusk. The spring air carried the scent of blooming flowers, so different from the crisp autumn day when Finn had re-entered their lives. Seasons had changed, and with them, perhaps, people too. I've been looking at houses in Westbrook, Finn said suddenly. Nothing too ostentatious, but somewhere permanent. The commute to the city isn't bad, and I can work remotely most days. Marley turned to him, surprised. You're moving here? What about Horizon? The company survived without my daily presence for 6 months. He shrugged. It can continue to do so. I've hired good people, delegated effectively. The board wasn't thrilled, but they've adjusted. This is a big change, Marley observed. Finn met her gaze steadily. I've never been more certain of anything. My life in the city, the endless meetings and deals and acquisitions, none of it matters compared to being here. Watching Lily grow up, something in his expression, in the quiet certainty of his voice, stirred emotions Marley had carefully buried. She looked away, unwilling to examine them too closely. How strange to find yourself softening towards someone who once broke your heart so completely. Is forgiveness a choice? Or does it sometimes sneak up on you when you're not looking? There's something else, Finn continued. The community center renovation project you mentioned, the one the town council keeps postponing due to budget constraints? I'd like to fund it. Anonymously, he added quickly. This isn't about publicity or making myself look good. Marley studied him, searching for ulterior motives and finding none. Why? Because it matters to you, he said simply. And because this town has been Lily's home her whole life, I want to contribute to making it better for her, for all the children here. In that moment, Marley glimpsed the man Finn might have been all along. Beneath the ambition and corporate persona, the man he was becoming now, reshaped by fatherhood and perhaps by regret. Thank you, she said softly. The center needs it. The next day, Bryn Carter cornered Marley outside the kindergarten after drop-off. I hear Finn Wilder is buying property in town, she said, her tone casual but her eyes sharp with curiosity. A rather sudden decision, don't you think? I wouldn't know about Finn's property decisions, Marley replied, trying to move past her. Bryn blocked her path. Come now, Marley. Everyone can see what's happening. He's not just here for Lily, is he? The two of you are rekindling your relationship. My relationship with Finn is none of your business, Bryn, Marley said firmly. Hasn't your gossip about my family caused enough damage already? Bryn's smile tightened. I'm simply concerned. After all, men like Finn Wilder don't change overnight. I'd hate to see you get hurt again when he inevitably returns to his real life in the city. Your concern is noted, Marley said coldly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have clients waiting. As she walked away, Marley heard Bryn call after her. Just remember, leopards don't change their spots. Comment, actions speak louder than words if you're tired of people like Bryn who never admit when they're wrong. As spring blossomed into summer, a new rhythm established itself. Finn found a house not far from Marley's, a charming craftsman with a backyard perfect for the swing set he installed for Lily's visits. He joined the community center board, offering business expertise alongside his anonymous donation. Most significantly, he became a fixture in Lily's life, present for skinned knees and bedtime stories, for kindergarten art projects and swimming lessons. Marley watched this transformation with cautious optimism, gradually allowing the walls she had built around her heart to lower. They weren't a couple, the hurt ran too deep for that, but they were becoming something like friends, united in their love for their daughter. On Lily's 6th birthday in July, they hosted a party together at the community center. Children ran through sprinklers on the lawn while parents chatted in the shade, the awkwardness of Finn's presence having faded with familiarity. "You've been accepted," Reagan observed, joining Marley at the refreshment table. "Bryn Carter actually complimented your cupcake display. I nearly fainted." Marley laughed, watching as Finn helped Lily and her friends build a water balloon fort across the lawn. "It's strange how quickly things change. A year ago, half these people wouldn't speak to me. People have short memories," Reagan shrugged, "especially when there's a billionaire charming everyone with his devoted daddy routine." She paused, studying her friend's face. "Except it's not a routine, is it? He's actually changed." "I think so," Marley admitted. "Or maybe this is who he always was, underneath all the ambition and fear." "And what about you two?" Reagan asked carefully. "I've seen the way he looks at you when you're not watching." Marley shook her head. "We're co-parents, Reagan. Nothing more." "Mm-hmm," her friend hummed skeptically. "Keep telling yourself that." Across the lawn, Bryn Carter was holding court with several other mothers, her gaze repeatedly drifting toward Finn and Marley. When she caught Marley looking, she smiled with false sweetness and raised her glass in a mock toast. Later, as the party wound down and guests departed, Marley found Finn sitting alone on a bench, watching Lily play with her new toys on a picnic blanket nearby. "Successful party," she said, joining him, "though I think you went overboard with the presents." Finn smiled ruefully. "Probably. I'm still learning the balance between generosity and spoiling." "You'll figure it out," Marley assured him. "You've figured out everything else about being a father remarkably quickly." "I had a good teacher," he said, glancing at her. "Watching you with her, you make it look effortless, though I know it's not." Marley accepted the compliment with a nod. Watching Lily arrange her new toys in some complex pattern only she understood. "She's happy," she observed. "Truly happy. That's all I've ever wanted for her." "Me too," Finn agreed softly, though I came to that realization embarrassingly late. A comfortable silence settled between them, the kind that had become increasingly common in recent months. The antagonism that had marked their early interactions after his return had gradually given way to a tentative respect, and then to something that felt almost like partnership. It's remarkable how time can transform even the deepest wounds, isn't it? How yesterday's enemies can become today's allies through shared purpose and genuine effort. "I received an offer today," Marley said suddenly. "A major hotel chain wants me to redesign their flagship property in the city. It would be my biggest project yet." "Marley, that's fantastic," Finn said, genuine pleasure lighting his features. "You've earned this. Your work is exceptional." "Thank you," she replied, still processing the opportunity herself. It would mean frequent trips to the city, though. At least weekly for the next year. Finn considered this. "I could adjust my schedule to be here more when you're away. Ensure Lily's routine stays consistent." The offer was made without hesitation, without expectation of gratitude. Simply a practical solution from a co-parent. Marley felt a rush of appreciation for how far they had come. "That would help," she acknowledged. "I haven't accepted yet. It's a big commitment." "You should take it," Finn said firmly. "This is the kind of opportunity that could transform your business." Marley smiled wryly. Career advice from Finn Wilder? Should I be worried? He laughed, the sound relaxed and genuine. "Fair point. My past career decisions weren't always balanced with personal considerations. But I've learned a few things about priorities recently." As summer faded into autumn, Marley's hotel project consumed much of her professional energy. True to his word, Finn adjusted his own schedule to accommodate her frequent trips to the city, often staying at her house when she was away, to maintain Lily's routine. On one such evening in late September, Marley returned from the city earlier than expected, having completed her meetings ahead of schedule. The house was quiet when she entered, but warm lights spilled from Lily's bedroom upstairs. She climbed the stairs silently, pausing in the doorway of her daughter's room. Finn sat on the edge of Lily's bed, reading from a well-worn copy of The Velveteen Rabbit. Lily was already asleep. her copper curls spread across the pillow, one arm wrapped around her favorite elephant. Finn continued reading softly, unaware of Marley's presence, his voice gentle as he described the toy rabbit's journey to becoming real. The tenderness in his expression as he looked at their sleeping daughter made Marley's heart constrict with an emotion she wasn't ready to name. She must have made some small sound, because Finn looked up, surprise, and something else flickering across his face. "You're back early," he whispered, carefully closing the book and standing. "Meetings finished sooner than expected," Marley replied, equally quiet as they moved into the hallway, pulling Lily's door partially closed behind them. "She was wonderful today," Finn said. "We visited the duck pond, then had dinner with your mother. She insisted on spaghetti, despite my warnings about tomato sauce and white shirts." Marley smiled, noticing for the first time the faint red stain on his collar. "She's persuasive when she wants to be. Wonder where she gets that from," Finn teased gently. In the soft hallway light, with the comfortable domesticity of the moment surrounding them, Marley felt a shift in the air between them. Finn seemed to sense it too, his expression growing more serious. "I should go," he said, though he made no move toward the stairs. "Let you get settled in." "You could stay," Marley found herself saying. "For coffee, I mean, if you're not in a rush." Something like hope flickered in Finn's eyes. "I'd like that. Like this video, if you believe love deserves a second chance, only bitter people like Bryn would root against someone's happiness." They moved downstairs to the kitchen, the familiar routine of making coffee, creating a comfortable buffer for the unfamiliar territory they were entering. Seated at the kitchen table, mugs in hand, they talked about Lily's kindergarten adventures, the hotel project, the community center's upcoming fall festival. "I never thanked you properly," Marley said during a lull in the conversation, "for the press conference, for clearing my name publicly. It made a significant difference in my life here." Finn shook his head. "Don't thank me for finally doing the right thing after years of doing the wrong one." "Still," Marley insisted, "it took courage to admit your mistakes so publicly." Horizon stock took a hit. "The company recovered." Finn shrugged. "And even if it hadn't, some things are worth more than stock prices." He looked at her then, really looked at her, with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I've been wanting to ask you something, but I wasn't sure if it was too soon, or if you'd even consider it." Marley's pulse quickened. "What is it? Would you have dinner with me? Not as co-parents discussing Lily, but as us. Just us." The question hung in the air between them, weighted with history and possibility. Part of Marley wanted to refuse, immediately, to protect herself from the man who had once hurt her so deeply. But another part, a part that had been quietly growing stronger over these months of watching him become the father Lily deserved, whispered that people could indeed change, that second chances sometimes led to better outcomes than first ones. Have you ever stood at such a crossroads, where the safer path leads back to familiar territory, but the riskier one might lead somewhere extraordinary? "I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago," she said carefully. "And neither are you." "No," Finn agreed. "We're not. That might be a good thing." Marley studied him. This man, who had once broken her heart with his callous dismissal, who had returned to their lives with humility and determination, who read bedtime stories long after their daughter had fallen asleep simply because he didn't want to miss a moment of being her father. "One dinner," she said finally. "No promises beyond that." The smile that spread across Finn's face was worth the risk of her tentative yes. "That's all I'm asking for. A beginning." The restaurant Finn chose for their dinner was not what Marley had expected. Rather than one of the exclusive establishments in the city where he had taken her during their brief relationship years ago, he selected a small, family-owned Italian place on the outskirts of Westbrook, unpretentious, warm, and far from prying eyes. "I thought you might be more comfortable somewhere quiet," he explained as they were seated in a corner booth, soft candlelight illuminating the table. "Somewhere we could talk without an audience." Marley appreciated the thoughtfulness. Despite Finn's public apology months ago, their dinner would undoubtedly have caused a stir in Westbrook's more prominent restaurants. "It's perfect," she assured him, accepting the menu from their server. "I've actually never been here before. I found it by accident Finn admitted. I was driving around one day trying to clear my head after a particularly difficult video conference with the board. The owner, Arlo, makes everything from scratch. They ordered wine and antipasti, falling into surprisingly easy conversation about their respective days. Finn described his ongoing negotiations to shift more of Horizon's operations towards sustainable technology, while Marley shared updates on the hotel project's progress. You seem different when you talk about work now, Marley observed as their main courses arrived. Less consumed by it. Finn considered this as he twirled pasta onto his fork. I used to think Horizon was my legacy, the only thing that would outlast me, that would matter in the grand scheme of things. Now I understand how limited that perspective was. Lily changed that for you, Marley suggested. Yes, he agreed. But so did losing 5 years with her. Realizing what I'd sacrificed for success. That ultimately felt hollow. He met her gaze directly. I don't expect you to forgive me easily, Marley. What I did was unforgivable in many ways, but I want you to know that I understand now what I couldn't or wouldn't see then. Marley sipped her wine, considering his words. I was so angry for so long, she admitted. Not just because you denied Lily, but because you thought so little of me, of what we had shared, that you could believe I would lie about something so important. I never truly believed it, Finn said quietly. Deep down, I knew you weren't capable of that kind of deception. It was easier to pretend, to let my PR team craft a narrative that protected the company, than to face my own fear of fatherhood. Fear? Marley questioned, surprised by his candor. Finn nodded, setting down his fork. My own father was distant at best. Success was the only acceptable outcome in our household. Failure was met with disappointment, not support. I was terrified of repeating that pattern, of being as cold and demanding with my own child as he was with me. So instead you chose absence, Marley said, understanding dawning. A coward's choice, Finn acknowledged. One I'll regret for the rest of my life. The vulnerability in his admission touched something in Marley that she had kept carefully guarded. You're not that man anymore, she said softly. I've watched you with Lily. You're patient, attentive, fully present with her. Nothing like what you've described. Because of you, Finn replied. Watching you parent her, seeing the relationship you've built with her, it showed me what was possible, what I wanted to be for her. Their conversation continued through dessert and coffee, moving from the painful past to the present, to tentative hopes for the future. By the time Finn drove her home, something had shifted between them, not forgiveness exactly, but understanding, and perhaps the foundation for something new. At her door, Finn hesitated. Thank you for tonight, he said simply. For giving me a chance I probably don't deserve. Marley studied him in the porch light, this man who had once been her greatest heartbreak, and who was now, improbably, becoming something else entirely in her life. Good night, Finn, she said softly, then added, I'd like to do this again sometime. The smile that spread across his face was worth the risk of those words. As autumn deepened, their cautious reconnection continued. Dinners became more frequent, sometimes followed by walks along the lake or quiet conversations on Marley's porch after Lily was asleep. They were building something new, not reclaiming what had been lost, but creating something potentially stronger, founded on hard-earned wisdom and shared purpose. The town noticed, of course. Westbrook was too small for their evolving relationship to go unremarked. But the gossip lacked the malicious edge it might once have had. Perhaps the community, having witnessed Finn's public accountability and consistent presence over the past months, was willing to grant them the space to find their way forward. All except Bryn Carter, who seemed determined to find fault with Finn's redemption story. At the community center's Halloween event, Marley overheard her speaking to a group of mothers. It's all very convenient, isn't it? Bryn was saying. He denies the child for 5 years, then suddenly has a change of heart, just as Horizon stock is at an all-time high. And now he's the devoted daddy and boyfriend? Please. He's just protecting his image. Marley was about to confront her when Finn appeared at her side. Lily perched on his shoulders in her butterfly costume. Not worth it, he said quietly, following her gaze to Bryn. Some people need others to fail to feel successful themselves. Marley looked up at him, surprised by his insight. When did you get so wise? Finn smiled, adjusting Lily's wings. I had an excellent teacher in humility. Have you noticed how the most profound wisdom often comes from our greatest mistakes? How sometimes we need to fall completely to learn how to stand properly? In late October, as crimson and gold leaves carpeted Westbrook streets, Sailor Knox invited them both to Sunday dinner, a significant gesture from a woman who had once declared Finn Wilder persona non grata in her home. Are you sure about this? Marley asked, helping her mother prepare the roast. You don't have to include him in family traditions if you're not comfortable. Sailor seasoned potatoes, with more force than strictly necessary. He's Lily's father, she said pragmatically. And he's making an effort, a real one, not just for show. Besides, she added with a small smile, I've seen the way you look at him these days. Mom, Marley protested, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. I'm not saying I've forgotten what he did, Sailor continued, ignoring her daughter's embarrassment. But holding on to anger doesn't serve any of us, especially Lily. If you can find your way to giving him another chance, I can at least manage a civil dinner. The meal proved more than civil. Finn arrived with flowers for Sailor and a bottle of her favorite wine, a detail Marley hadn't remembered sharing with him. He engaged her mother in conversation about her volunteer work at the library, listened attentively to Lily's elaborate stories about kindergarten adventures, and insisted on helping with the dishes afterward. As they drove home, Lily already half asleep in her car seat, Marley glanced at Finn in the passenger seat. You survived dinner with Sailor Knox. Impressive. He smiled, looking out at the familiar streets of Westbrook passing by. She's warming to you, Marley admitted, though she'd never say it directly. I don't expect immediate forgiveness from either of you, Finn said quietly. Just the opportunity to prove, day by day, that I'm committed to being here, to being better. Marley reached across the console, briefly squeezing his hand before returning hers to the steering wheel. The simple gesture conveyed what she wasn't yet ready to put into words, that his commitment was being noticed, that her heart was gradually opening to possibilities she had once thought forever closed. November brought the completion of Marley's hotel project, celebrated with a gala opening in the city. Finn attended as her date, proud and supportive, as industry leaders praised her vision and execution. You're remarkable, he told her as they swayed on the dance floor, the elegant ballroom she had designed surrounding them. I always knew you were talented, but seeing this, what you've created, it's extraordinary. Marley smiled, allowing herself to relax into his arms. It feels good, she admitted, to be recognized for my work, to see my designs come to life on this scale. This is just the beginning, Finn predicted. After tonight, you'll have clients lining up for your services. He was right. In the weeks following the gala, Marley received multiple offers for new projects, each more prestigious than the last. Her small design firm was suddenly in demand, necessitating difficult decisions about expansion and priorities. I could hire more designers, she mused one evening in early December, as she and Finn sat before the fireplace in her living room, reviewing her business options after Lily had gone to bed. But I'm not sure I want to grow too quickly. Quality control becomes an issue. Finn listened thoughtfully, offering suggestions when asked, but careful not to overstep. This was her business, her vision, and he respected her expertise. Whatever you decide, he said finally, I believe in you, and I'm here to support you however I can. Marley looked at him then. This man who had once been solely focused on his own ambitions, now genuinely invested in hers. Thank you, she said softly. That means more than you know. The next day, while shopping for Christmas decorations with Lily, Marley ran into Bryn Carter at the town's small boutique. Bryn's eyes narrowed when she spotted them. Marley, darling, she called, her voice syrupy sweet. And little Lily. Shopping for the holidays? Yes, Marley replied shortly, hoping to end the conversation quickly. Bryn wasn't deterred. I heard your hotel project was a smashing success. and that Finn was quite the supportive escort at the gala. Her emphasis on the word made it sound tawdry. It's all moving rather quickly, isn't it? From denial to domestic bliss in less than a year. Lily looked up, confused by the woman's tone. "Do you know my daddy?" she asked, innocently. Bryn's smile tightened. "Oh yes, dear. Everyone knows your daddy." "Bryn," Marley said, her voice low but firm. "Not in front of my daughter." "Of course," Bryn replied, feigning contrition. "I just worry about you, Marley. Men with money think they can buy forgiveness. But some things can't be purchased, can they?" "You're right about that," Marley agreed, surprising Bryn. "Forgiveness can't be bought. It has to be earned through consistent actions and genuine change. Something not everyone is capable of understanding." She took Lily's hand. "Come on, sweetie. Let's go find those snowflake lights you wanted." As they walked away, Lily looked up at her mother. "That lady doesn't like Daddy, does she?" Marley sighed, wondering how to explain adult complexities to a 6-year-old. "Some people have trouble believing that people can change and grow, Lily. They get stuck in old stories." Lily considered this with the seriousness only children can bring to philosophical questions. "That's sad," she finally declared. "Everyone should get to be better if they try hard." Marley smiled, squeezing her daughter's hand. "You're absolutely right. Subscribe now if you believe in fighting for love despite what others say. Don't let the Bryns of the world convince you that some mistakes can't be forgiven." As Christmas approached, bringing with it Lily's excitement and the town's festive atmosphere, Marley found herself reflecting on the extraordinary year that was ending. 12 months ago, she had been a single mother fighting against a town's judgment, struggling to build her business despite the shadow of scandal. Now her professional reputation was soaring. Her daughter was thriving with both parents in her life, and her heart was opening to feelings she had thought long buried. Isn't it remarkable how life can transform in the span of a single year? How what once seemed impossible can become your new reality? The community center's Christmas festival, funded in part by Finn's anonymous donation, transformed the building and grounds into a winter wonderland. Lily darted between activities, decorating cookies, visiting Santa, making ornaments while Marley and Finn followed, capturing her joy in photographs and shared smiles. She asked for a family vacation for Christmas. Finn confided, as they watched Lily participate in a children's choir performance. "The three of us, somewhere with snow, and a big Christmas tree." Marley glanced at him, surprised. "She's never mentioned that to me." "She wanted it to be a surprise," Finn explained. "She's been very strategic about it, actually. Leaving travel brochures around my house, asking pointed questions about skiing and sleigh rides." Marley laughed softly. "She's definitely your daughter. Always with a plan." "What do you think?" Finn asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "Would you consider it? A few days away? Just the three of us?" The question carried weight beyond the simple vacation proposal. It represented another step forward, a deepening of whatever was growing between them. "I think Lily would love it," Marley said carefully. "And so would I." The smile that spread across Finn's face warmed her more than the cup of hot chocolate in her hands. Across the room, Bryn Carter watched their exchange with narrowed eyes. When the festival ended, she approached Marley as Finn took Lily to retrieve her coat. "I hear you're taking a little family vacation," Bryn said, her voice low. "How cozy." Marley sighed. "Is there anything in this town you don't hear about, Bryn?" "Very little," the woman admitted, without shame. "I just want to make sure you know what you're doing. Finn Wilder abandoned you once before. What makes you think he won't do it again when the novelty wears off?" "People change," Marley replied simply. Bryn scoffed. "Not men like him. They just get better at hiding who they really are." "You know what, Bryn?" Marley said, her patience finally exhausted. "I used to wonder why you were so invested in my misery, but I think I understand now. You need others to fail because you've never taken a real risk yourself. You've never put your heart on the line, never had to rebuild after being broken. So you tear down anyone who dares to try again." Bryn's face flushed with anger. "How dare you?" "I dare because I'm tired," Marley interrupted. "Tired of your judgment, your gossip, your need to make everyone as unhappy as you are. Finn hurt me deeply. Yes, but he spent every day since his return trying to make amends. He's earned a second chance, and I've earned the right to give it to him without your commentary." She turned to leave, then paused. "And Bryn, if I ever hear you've been discussing my daughter again, our next conversation won't be nearly this pleasant." Finn and Lily were waiting by the door, bundled up against the December chill. "Everything okay?" Finn asked, noting Marley's flushed cheeks. "Perfect," she replied, taking Lily's other hand, "just clearing the air." The mountain lodge Finn reserved for their Christmas getaway was picturesque without being ostentatious. A private cabin with stunning views, a massive stone fireplace, and easy access to skiing and other winter activities. Lily was enchanted from the moment they arrived, running from window to exclaim over the snow-covered landscape. "This is the best Christmas ever," she declared, bouncing on her toes as Finn lit the fire and Marley unpacked their bags. The days that followed were filled with simple pleasures. Lily's first skiing lesson, at which she proved remarkably adept, building snowmen in the clearing behind the cabin, roasting marshmallows in the fireplace, and reading Christmas stories beneath the twinkling lights of the tree Finn had arranged to have waiting for them. On Christmas Eve, after Lily had finally succumbed to sleep, exhausted from the day's adventures and vibrating with anticipation for Santa's arrival, Marley and Finn sat before the fire, sharing a bottle of wine. "Thank you for this," Marley said, gesturing to encompass the cabin, the peaceful setting, the perfect holiday they were creating, for giving Lily this experience. "Thank you for sharing it with me," Finn replied, his gaze steady on her face, illuminated by the dancing firelight, "for allowing me to be part of these memories." Marley studied him over the rim of her wineglass. "You know, a year ago, I couldn't have imagined this. Us, here, together, creating Christmas traditions as a family. A year ago, I was alone in my penthouse, working through the holidays," Finn admitted, "telling myself it was necessary, that the company needed me, when the truth was, I simply didn't know how to stop, how to build a life beyond horizon." "And now?" Marley asked softly. Finn set down his glass, turning to face her fully. "Now I understand what matters, what I almost lost, forever, through my own fear and pride." He hesitated, then reached for her hand. "Marley, I need to tell you something." Her heart quickened at the seriousness in his tone. "What is it?" "I never stopped loving you," he said simply. "Even during those 5 years apart, even when I was convincing myself that walking away was the right decision, there was always this emptiness, this knowledge that I had left behind something irreplaceable." Marley's breath caught. They had been carefully circling this conversation for months, rebuilding trust, establishing a new foundation, but neither had directly addressed the feelings growing between them. Sometimes the most important truths are the hardest to speak, aren't they? The ones that make us most vulnerable, that risk the most pain if rejected. "Finn," she began, but he gently interrupted. "You don't need to say anything," he assured her. "I don't expect you to feel the same way, not after everything. I just needed you to know that for me, this isn't just about co-parenting Lily or making amends. It's about loving you, both of you, and wanting to build a life together, if you'll have me." The vulnerability in his expression, the raw honesty in his words, touched something deep within Marley. The walls she had built around her heart after his betrayal had been slowly crumbling over these past months, brick by brick, as he proved himself through consistent actions rather than empty promises. "I was so hurt," she whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. "When you walked away, when you publicly denied Lily, it broke something in me that I thought could never be repaired." Finn nodded, pain evident in his expression. "I know, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make that right, whether you can love me again or not." Marley reached up, gently touching his face. "That's just it," she said softly. "Watching you these past months, the father you've become to Lily, the man you've grown into, I've realized that my heart never fully let you go. Despite everything, despite how much I wanted to hate you, I still love you, Finn." The words, once spoken, felt like release, an admission she had been holding back for fear of vulnerability, of being hurt again. Finn's eyes widened, hope and disbelief warring in his expression. "Marley," he breathed, her name a prayer on his lips. "I'm still scared," she confessed. "Trusting you again, opening myself to the possibility of us. It's terrifying." "I know," he acknowledged. "And I'll spend every day proving that your trust isn't misplaced. We don't have to rush. We can take this as slowly as you need." Marley smiled through her tears. "We've already lost 5 years," she said. "I don't want to waste any more time being afraid of what might happen." When he kissed her, it felt both familiar and entirely new. A homecoming and a beginning, wrapped into one moment. The fire crackled beside them, snow fell gently outside the windows, and upstairs their daughter slept peacefully, her Christmas wishes already coming true in ways she couldn't yet fully understand. Christmas morning dawned bright and clear. The world outside transformed into a glistening wonderland of fresh snow. Lily woke them at dawn, bouncing between their rooms with irrepressible excitement. "Santa came! Santa came!" she announced, pulling them both toward the living room where presents waited beneath the tree. Watching her unwrap gifts with unbridled joy, Marley and Finn exchanged glances filled with shared happiness and the private knowledge of the shift in their relationship. Something had settled between them. A certainty that had been missing before. Later, as Lily played with her new toys by the fire, Finn slipped a small package into Marley's hand. "One more gift," he said quietly. "Just for you." Inside the carefully wrapped box, Marley found not jewelry as she had half expected, but a key attached to a simple silver keychain. "What's this?" she asked, looking up at him questioningly. "A key to my house," Finn explained. "Not a proposal or a pressure, just an open door. Whenever you're ready. A symbol that my home is yours. Always." The thoughtfulness of the gesture, its respect for her independence while offering connection, touched Marley deeply. "Thank you," she said, closing her fingers around the key, "for understanding what I need." He smiled, taking her hand. "We'll figure this out together. Day by day. No rush. No expectations beyond what feels right. For all of us." When they returned to Westbrook after the new year, news of their reconciliation had somehow preceded them. Bryn Carter wasted no time in spreading her version of events, suggesting that Finn had finally worn down Marley's resistance and that it was only a matter of time before he returned to his old ways. But to Marley's surprise, few people seemed to share Bryn's cynicism. The town that had once been so quick to believe the worst of her now seemed willing to accept the possibility of redemption, of second chances, of love rebuilding after betrayal. Perhaps witnessing Finn's consistent presence and genuine commitment had changed more minds than just Marley's. Or perhaps people simply preferred a story of healing over one of continued bitterness. As winter melted into spring, their relationship deepened naturally. Finn became a fixture at Marley's house, often staying for dinner, helping with bedtime routines, and eventually staying the night. Lily accepted these changes with the adaptability of childhood, delighted to have both parents present in her daily life. By summer, they had begun discussing more permanent arrangements. Finn's house, while beautiful, felt less like home than Marley's cozy craftsman where Lily had spent her entire life. "We could renovate?" Marley suggested one evening as they sat on her porch swing, watching fireflies rise from the lawn. "Add a master suite. Expand the kitchen. Make this house work for all of us." Finn considered the idea, looking at the home that held so many memories for Marley and Lily. "I'd like that," he said finally. "This has always been Lily's home. It should continue to be." The renovation plans became a family project, with even Lily contributing ideas for her big girl room and the backyard playground she envisioned. Marley's design expertise transformed their modest home into a space that accommodated their blended life while maintaining its warmth and character. As the one-year anniversary of Finn's return to their lives approached, he and Marley found themselves once again at the boathouse where their reconciliation had begun. The autumn afternoon was golden, the lake reflecting the fiery colors of changing leaves. "I can hardly believe it's been a year," Marley said, leaning against the railing overlooking the water. "So much has changed." "For the better, I hope," Finn replied, standing beside her. Marley smiled, turning to face him. "Definitely for the better. Lily is thriving. My business is succeeding beyond my wildest expectations. And you." She reached for his hand. "You've become the partner I always hoped you could be." Finn's expression grew serious. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you," he said, his voice quiet but steady. "Something I've been thinking about for months." Marley's heart quickened as he reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. Unlike their first relationship, which had burned bright and fast without the foundation to sustain it, this reconnection had been built carefully, thoughtfully, with full awareness of their past mistakes and future hopes. Isn't it strange how sometimes we need to break something completely before we can rebuild it properly? How the second version can be stronger precisely because we know where the weaknesses were in the first? "I'm not asking because of Lily, or because it's what's expected," Finn said, opening the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I'm asking because I love you, Marley Dean. Because this year has shown me that my life is infinitely better with you in it. Because I want to build a future together, as partners and equals." Tears gathered in Marley's eyes as he continued. "I know I hurt you. I know I failed you both when you needed me most. And I know that no amount of time can erase that completely. But if you'll have me, I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of the second chance you've given me." He took a deep breath. "Marley, will you marry me?" The question hung in the air between them, weighted with their complicated history and the new future they had been carefully constructing. "Yes," Marley said simply, her voice steady despite her tears. "Yes, I will." As Finn slipped the ring onto her finger, Marley felt the final pieces of her heart's protective walls dissolve. The journey from betrayal to forgiveness had been long and often painful. But standing here now, she knew with absolute certainty that they had both emerged stronger, wiser, and more capable of the love they now shared. News of their engagement spread through Westbrook with predictable speed. Most reactions were positive congratulatory calls, flowers from former clients, even a handwritten note from the mayor. But Bryn Carter couldn't resist one final attempt to cast doubt on their happiness. She cornered Marley at the grocery store, her gaze fixed on the diamond ring. "Well, well," she said, her voice carrying just enough to attract attention from nearby shoppers. "I suppose congratulations are in order. Though I must say, it's a risky move, marrying a man who once denied his own child." Marley had expected this, had prepared for it. "You know, Bryn," she said calmly, "I used to wonder why my happiness seemed to cause you such distress. But I've realized something. Your opinion simply doesn't matter to me anymore." Bryn's eyes widened at the direct confrontation. "I'm only concerned for your well-being," she protested. "Someone needs to be the voice of reason." "No," Marley replied firmly. "What you need is to find joy in your own life instead of trying to diminish others. Finn made a terrible mistake, yes. But he's spent every day since making amends, being present, proving through actions that he's changed. That's more courage than most people show in a lifetime." She placed a box of cereal in her cart and prepared to move on. "I hope someday you find something that brings you as much happiness as my family brings me. Until then, I'd appreciate if you'd keep your concerns to yourself." As she walked away, leaving Bryn speechless for perhaps the first time in her life, Marley felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The town gossip no longer had power over her. Not her reputation, not her happiness, not her future. Have you ever experienced that moment of liberation? When you realize someone else's opinion of you has lost its ability to wound? They chose to marry in the spring, a small ceremony in the garden behind their renovated home. Lily served as flower girl, scattering petals with characteristic enthusiasm, before taking her place between her grandmother and Reagan at the front of the gathered guests. The town of Westbrook had watched their story unfold with varying degrees of skepticism and support, but on this day, even the most doubtful seemed touched by the evident happiness of the couple exchanging vows beneath an arch of spring blossoms. "Second chances are rare gifts," the officiant remarked during the ceremony. "They require courage to offer and humility to accept. Today we celebrate not just the union of two people, but the journey that brought them here. A journey of growth, forgiveness, and enduring love." As Finn and Marley sealed their vows with a kiss, Lily broke protocol to run forward and wrap her arms around both their legs, creating a family embrace that drew laughter and tears from the assembled guests. The reception that followed was joyful and relaxed, with Lily dancing on Finn's shoes and later falling asleep in her grandmother's lap as the evening progressed. When most guests had departed, Marley noticed a figure lingering at the garden gate. Bryn Carter, dressed in her Sunday best, clearly hoping to crash the celebration. Finn followed her gaze. Should I ask her to leave? Marley considered the woman who had caused her so much pain with rumors and judgment. No, she decided. Let me handle this. She crossed the lawn to where Bryn stood, uncertainty replacing her usual confidence. I wasn't invited, Bryn admitted before Marley could speak. But I wanted to see for myself. See what? Marley asked. Bryn gestured vaguely toward the reception. If it was real. The change in him. The happiness. Something in her voice. A loneliness, perhaps, or regret, softened Marley's response. It is real, Bryn. People can change when they have the right motivation. Bryn nodded, her usual sharp edges momentarily absent. I can see that now. She hesitated, then added, I'm sorry, Marley. For a lot of things. The apology, however inadequate, was clearly difficult for her. Marley could have dismissed it, could have reminded Bryn of all the damage her gossip had caused. Instead, she simply said, Thank you for that. After a moment, she added, There's cake left, if you'd like to join us. Bryn looked startled by the invitation, then shook her head. No, I should go, but congratulations. I mean that. As she watched Bryn walk away, Marley felt the last remnants of bitterness dissolve. Some people, like Finn, were capable of profound change when confronted with their mistakes. Others, like Bryn, might only manage small steps toward growth, but both deserved the chance to try. Finn joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. Everything okay? Yes, Marley said, leaning into him. Just closing a chapter. When most guests had departed, Marley found a moment alone with her new husband on the porch swing that had witnessed so many of their conversations over the past year. Happy? Finn asked, his arm around her shoulders. Marley leaned into him, watching the last of the fairy lights twinkling in their garden. Completely, she confirmed. Though if you had told me 2 years ago that I would be sitting here as Mrs. Wilder, I would have thought you were insane. Finn laughed softly. Life takes unexpected turns. Indeed it does, Marley agreed, thinking of the DNA test that had set their reconciliation in motion. The truth that had finally emerged after years of denial and hurt. Inside the house, their daughter slept peacefully, secure in the knowledge that both her parents loved her and each other. The journey that had brought them to this moment had been neither simple nor easy. But as Marley looked up at the stars appearing in the evening sky, she felt a profound gratitude for the complicated path that had led them home. What are you thinking about? Finn asked, noticing her contemplative expression. Marley smiled, turning to meet his gaze. About truth, she said simply. How it always finds its way to the surface eventually. How it can hurt and heal in equal measure. Finn nodded, understanding the layers of meaning in her words. The truth set us free, he observed, even when it was painful to face. Especially then, Marley agreed, thinking of the day she had opened that envelope containing the DNA results, not knowing how completely it would transform their lives. As they sat together in the quiet of their wedding night, the past, with all its mistakes and missteps, seemed to recede, making way for the future. They would build together a future founded on honesty, forgiveness, and the enduring love that had survived even the deepest betrayal. The truth that had once threatened to destroy them had ultimately become their salvation, proving that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings arise from the ashes of what once seemed irreparably broken. 5 years later, Marley stood in the doorway of their home, watching as Finn pushed their 3-year-old son Grady on the backyard swing, while Lily, now 11, practiced cartwheels on the lawn. The scene of domestic tranquility still sometimes felt surreal, a life she had never dared to imagine during those dark years of single motherhood and public humiliation. Her design firm had grown into one of the most sought after in the region, while Finn had restructured Horizon to allow him to work primarily from home, prioritizing family over endless business travel. They had found a balance that worked, supporting each other's ambitions while keeping their family at the center. Bryn Carter had moved away 2 years ago, after her husband's job transferred him to another state. Before leaving, she had stopped by with a parting gift, a handmade quilt for Lily, a peace offering of sorts. Marley had accepted it graciously, understanding that some wounds healed slowly, and some people changed in small, imperfect ways. "Mommy, watch," Lily called, executing a perfect cartwheel that ended in a dramatic bow. "Impressive," Marley applauded, stepping onto the porch. "You've been practicing." "Dad says I could be in the Olympics," Lily announced proudly. Finn laughed, lifting Grady from the swing. "I said you have the determination for it, not that you're headed there next week." "Same thing," Lily insisted, flopping dramatically onto the grass. As Finn carried their son up to the porch, Marley was struck once again by how completely her life had transformed. The DNA test that had once filled her with dread had become the catalyst for healing, for truth, for the family that now surrounded her. "What?" Finn asked, noticing her expression. "Just thinking about how far we've come," she replied, taking their sleepy son from his arms. "How one moment can change everything." Finn nodded, understanding immediately. "That envelope," he said quietly. "The results that forced me to face the truth. The truth that set us free," Marley finished, leaning up to kiss him softly. Behind them, Lily groaned theatrically. "You guys are always kissing. It's embarrassing." They laughed, turning to include their daughter in their embrace despite her protests. As the sun set over their home, casting long shadows across the yard where their children played, Marley felt a deep contentment settle in her heart. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been moments of doubt, of fear, of old wounds reopening. But standing here now, surrounded by the family they had built together, she knew with absolute certainty that every painful step had been worth taking. Sometimes the hardest truths led to the most beautiful beginnings. Sometimes the deepest betrayals created space for the strongest love. And sometimes, when you least expected it, life offered second chances that proved more precious than anything that had come before. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and join our community that believes in redemption, not judgment. Only someone as bitter as Bryn would deny themselves more stories of love triumphing over hate.